Hello there, Sabersource fans. Micko here, and tonight we're reviewing the Reaver. Hello again, Sabersource fans. It's Micko, and here we have the Sabertrio Reaver, brought to you exclusively by Sabersource. So, hello, I'm guest reviewing today, and I hope you enjoy this little review of the hilt of the wonderful Sabertrio Reaver. So, let's get right down to it. Okay, over here you have vented a section, so for when you have your blade on, so you'll see the light coming through there. Now, these claws, right, are actually pretty removable. So you can see you just need a standard, a larger style hex screw, and you can take these out easily, which I will show you later. So you have your standard on and off switch, okay, your AV switch, sorry, and you have the auxiliary. So when you're doing your clashes, your sounds, it's also how you activate some of the certain features of the neopixel if you're going to use that, or if you have that configuration. So here you can see that this one's been treated a little differently. Okay, it's got a really nice texturing placed on it with some of these patterns, these gorgeous patterns. Trying to let the light speak for it. Okay, and of course we have here Sabersource, brought to you by our friends from Sabertrio. Okay, you have your cover tech clip here, standard, and you have your pommel. And the pommel also has these claws that you can also remove if you find that you actually use the pommel end as your grip, or if it just feels like not quite your saber. So yeah, I would call this the big brother of the Mira, the other hilt that came out recently, and for other reasons too. So here at the bottom you can see that this one is in a neopixel configuration, so we have a speaker system here, right? And in front is not the LED, and I don't know if you can see this through the light, but it has basically the prongs that you use for your string blade. Okay, so first things first, as I pick this up and as I manipulate this hilt, one thing that comes to mind is how light it is. It looks, it feels dense, you know, don't get me wrong, it feels solid, but it's actually very light, right? And so one of the things that you might be afraid of when you're dealing with lightsabers is that, and with hilts for that matter, if it's too heavy, it kind of takes away from your, well, it depends on your style, of course, but this one, for me, has a nice balance of heft, okay, and density. I mean, it's hefty, yes, but it's also like very, I don't know, agile almost in the hand, right? And so the grip, and that brings me to the grip, right? Now, I have pretty big hands, and so what happens for me is that sometimes I kind of want a saber that is comfortable but is wide enough so it's not awkward, right? Now, there are pieces out there that they seem lighter or they seem nicer, but actually are a little bit thicker when you hold on to it, and so it feels like I lose a lot of grip in it, and I think that comes from my training with our niece, right? So I'm used to maybe lighter sticks, rattan sticks, but on the random days, not random, but on the occasional days that I have to work out and condition my arms and I use a kamagong stick, you know, I have this certain familiarity with a grip, and I think that's a really good place to start if you're holding a circular tube for a saber or for a hilt. And just from my experience, the Reaver really lends itself nicely to that operation. It reminded me of the Mira when I first touched it. So when I first held this one, oh wow, it has that, it feels like the big brother of the Mira. So if the Mira was more restrained, more simple, this one is more, this one is more hefty, but it has that same, it comes from that same family, you know? So so you have your switch here, and I'll just take out my larger size. So this is the standard. This one would be one you use to remove the screw for your blade. Okay, so the one that you would use for your cover tech, right? So the hex key, okay, that you would use for cover tech is the same one that you would use to manipulate these claws. So let me just try to find it. Okay, and see, it just snaps. I mean, you know, comes off really easily. Let's see. Oh, I have to do the whole thing out. Well, good construction, right? And so there. So you see, if you take that out, you'd get a blade that would look like this, right? So it really just depends. So of course, if you don't want, you know, a light shining out to that, you just return the screw. Okay. You could just screw it back on, and there, so you have coverage on that section. But otherwise, it's a gorgeous blade. I mean, it's a gorgeous hilt, sorry. So, do I dislike the claw? Not really. It gives itself a nice character, a meanness, I would think. And of course, I can imagine all you DIYers out there like taking this apart, giving it different colors, or like treating this a little differently. If you get like a standard hilt, maybe a standard black or the standard chrome that Sabertrio offers, and you would just DIY the living force out of this one. So yeah, so when I use this, when I worked around with this, I ended up using a double, like a two-handed grip, and I think that's fine. That's the standard, that's the expectation, as opposed to the Mira, who I felt had a more single-handed use in mind. So this one is more of the big brother, nga, the two-handed big brother of the Mira. Okay, and so let's just take the pommel apart. Well, not apart, but off. Okay, so you have like basic ventilation for your sound. So this particular model does have a speaker, right? And so it also has the Sabertrio sound chip, right? And then over here is where you have the battery, and you have a charging port if you're interested. Okay, so let's just move that around through the cover tech. So the cover tech works like a natural lock for the battery, doesn't make it jiggle around. Okay, and then you can see it takes a standard 18650 batteries. Okay, the secure one, the protected ones, the ones with the nipple at the end. Okay, right, and so I mean, very standard fare, very great stuff. Okay, from Sabertrio. So let me just try to wiggle that in. Excuse me. Okay, and so let's push that a bit more. Okay, and so. Right, so as you can see, the pommel itself, standard pommel, you can take other pommels that you've already had and replace this. But of course, you can also just take the claws apart if they're not to your liking. And if you take them apart, it will sort of remind me of, I think, a first generation Mira pommel. But that, I think that's just me. I might be recalling that incorrectly. But see, again, really wonderful, really nice. So let's just try. Oh, and so this configuration, of course, okay, because it's a neopixel, comes with its own string blade. So that string blade, and you should come to expect this, okay, has its own terminal, okay, and so it is joined at a terminal somewhere in the bottom. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you guys can just use your brightness or your contrast. So what happens is there are like prongs, okay, contacts at the bottom, and it's in the shape of like a T. And so it doesn't really matter. There's no, it's not that fickle, as long as that part, as long as this part, okay, comes into contact with the end of it, and you should be fine. Now let me see if I can put that in here. So I'm just being very careful because, you know, it's not really my saber. Okay, so they're easy peasy. So once you feel that connection is solid, okay, you just screw the blade a little tightly. I won't go crazy with this one. Alright, and then there you go. And so you got your standard sound effects, so you can see how the light works against that beautiful vent, right? And so if you don't want the claws, that's sort of how that will look like. I mean, if you can probably imagine that. Right. Okay. And so you have all the wonderful features that the NeoPixel has. So you can color change this. You can have fun with it. AV switch. Right. So you can have different versions. Okay. So my favorite part is if you want to change the color, you get into the mode and just rotate the blade. And so, I don't know, maybe you can see it through the reflection of my hand. So I'm just turning. I'm literally just turning the blade. And it gives me all these wonderful colors. Okay? You run the whole spectrum and it's beautiful. So the clicking sound that you hear is just an indicator that you are going through the sounds. So I think it's a nice touch, right? Because obviously you can't put a vibra mode on this one. Maybe. Or too messy, I guess. So the clicking sound really helps. So other than the colors, you can also go into a mode where you change the blade style. So blade profiles. So what that does is it allows you, so this one, I don't know if you can quite see it, it's in this RGB rainbow glow, so you can see. So it's running down the length of the string blade, and it's giving us a wonderful color change. So it gives us a rainbow. Okay, another mode that I particularly like. So that's your plane. So you got some, you know, crackling, more like the Kylo Ren saber, right? And then I think if we click enough times, we get into something that looks like fire. And so this has been my particularly favorite look for the blade, my particular favorite style. So you can see, if I'm holding the end here, it gives that fire glow, right? And so of course you have your sound font configurations, all the technical information you can find on the Sabersource and Sabertrio website. So please check it out. I have a couple of clips of me using this sword, using this saber in this particular configuration. So please check it out. Well, that's been Micko for the review of the Sabertrio Reaver. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you at the next review.